Imagine the most powerful man in the known world, right? A conquering king leading this unstoppable army, and he's standing right over you.
Oh, this is such a good story.
Right. He looks down and offers to grant you literally anything you desire. Wealth, land, power, it is all yours for the asking. And your only response to this absolute master of the universe is, yeah, could you move a little? You're blocking my sunlight.
It's just, it is arguably the greatest, most audacious interaction in the history of philosophy.
Totally.
That was Alexander the Great, offering the world to a man who lived in a literal clay jar in the marketplace of Athens. A man named Diogenes of Sinope.
Which is just wild to think about.
Yeah, and Alexander was so struck by this complete indifference to power that he reportedly said, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes."
Okay, let's unpack this right from the start. Because Diogenes, he wasn't just doing this as like performance art to be edgy.
No, not at all.
Today, we are using his ancient, incredibly radical playbook to figure out how to hit the ultimate unsubscribe button on the exhausting, hyper-connected reality of modern life.
Yeah, that unsubscribe button is exactly what we need.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because if you're listening to this right now, chances are you're feeling the sheer weight of modern societal pressures.
Oh, absolutely.
The hustle culture, the endless notifications, just that low-grade anxiety of feeling like you're constantly falling behind.
It's exhausting.
It really is. So our mission today for this deep dive is to see how a guy who owned nothing but a cloak and a wooden bowl can actually help us drastically reduce our daily stress and gain a profound sense of freedom.
It really is the perfect contrast, isn't it? If you look at our current reality, it is completely driven by consumption.
Right, just buying more stuff.
Exactly. It's an endless chase for status, and it's wrapped in this constant barrage of digital noise.
Right.
We are always turned on, always connected, always striving for the next promotion or, the next dopamine hit.
Yeah, just constantly chasing something.
But Diogenes operated on a fundamentally opposite core belief. He was the founder of a school of thought known as Cynicism.
No, wait, we should probably clarify that, right? Because when I hear cynical, I just think of someone who's super bitter.
Yes, exactly. We need to strip away that modern definition. He wasn't just a bitter pessimist at all. Ancient cynicism was about living in absolute agreement with nature.
Okay.
And fiercely demonstrating that most of the things we spend our entire lives chasing are completely unnecessary.
Right, because he flat out rejected wealth, luxury, and excess. Like, he believed that the vast majority of human desires are entirely artificial.
Manufactured by society, essentially.
Yeah. So if we're looking for the modern application here, it's all about stripping away that expensive stuff and stopping the cycle of endless upgrades.
The upgrade cycle is brutal.
It really makes me think about consumerism like a rigged treadmill.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Like, you exhaust yourself to buy the new phone, you get a quick hit of dopamine, you feel good for exactly 1 week, and then suddenly the algorithm tells you there's a newer, slightly thinner phone.
Right, with a slightly better camera.
Exactly. And you are right back to running on the treadmill, terrified of being left behind. It's a mathematically unwinnable game.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychological mechanism. When you engage in that cycle of endless upgrades, your baseline for satisfaction constantly resets.
Right, so nothing is ever enough.
Exactly. It's a phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. You think the next purchase will bring lasting happiness, but your brain just acclimates to the new luxury.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, and suddenly, what used to be a treat becomes a baseline requirement. Diogenes recognized this thousands of years before we had brain scans.
That's incredible.
He realized that every artificial desire you adopt is just another master you have to serve.
Okay, but hold on. If we simplify our routines and ditch the artificial stuff, what does that actually look like for you, the listener, today? Like, do we just become hermits?
No.
Are we supposed to sell our cars, abandon society, and go live off-grid in the woods? Because I'm not doing that.
Not at all. And that's a crucial misconception. By stepping off that treadmill, you aren't isolating yourself. You're intentionally recalibrating your environment.
Okay, recalibrating. I like that.
Yeah, you're gaining a modern superpower, which is absolute freedom. Think about the direct, tangible results of stripping away unnecessary wants.
Okay, like what?
First, you immediately face fewer financial pressures. When you aren't constantly trying to upgrade your lifestyle to match an artificial societal standard.
Or to match your rising income.
Right.
Lifestyle creep.
Exactly, lifestyle creep. When you stop that, your money goes incredibly far. You aren't trapped in a job you hate just to pay the financing on a car you bought to impress people you barely even tolerate.
So you're actually buying back your own life.
Precisely.
You're purchasing your time and your autonomy by simply deciding, hey, I don't need the upgraded kitchen cabinets.
Yes. And furthermore, you experience less comparison with others. You stop looking at your neighbor's driveway or your coworker's vacation photos as a benchmark for your own success.
You just remove the noise.
You remove the noise, and when you remove the noise of what society tells you to want, you can finally hear your own internal voice.
Which really brings up the environmental aspect of this philosophy too. Because modern life isn't just financially noisy, right? It's physically and biologically unnatural.
Very unnatural.
We spend our days hunched over under fluorescent lights, breathing recycled air, staring at glowing rectangles all day.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, modern life is profoundly disconnected from basic human biology.
Right.
Diogenes believed in living according to nature. For us, that means acknowledging that our nervous systems were not built to process 10,000 advertisements a day.
Oh my gosh, or the constant global news alerts.
Exactly. Spending more time outdoors, prioritizing real, tangible, physical experiences over digital ones, this actively reduces cognitive overload.
It grounds us.
It grounds us. You aren't becoming a hermit. You are just designing an environment that actually supports your well-being rather than actively draining it.
It's almost like decluttering, but on a massive existential scale.
I love that.
You start with the physical stuff, like the closets full of clothes you don't wear, the endless digital subscriptions. But once you clear all that physical and digital clutter away, you are forced to confront the less tangible things you've been carrying around.
The heavy stuff.
Yeah. Once you strip away the physical excess, you really have to look at the invisible chains keeping you on that treadmill, namely social status and expectations.
Yes. And this is where Diogenes was perhaps his most provocative. He openly mocked traditions, authority figures, and status symbols.
Which took some serious guts back then.
Absolutely. That's why the story of him brushing off Alexander the Great is so central to this mindset. Alexander had the power of life and death, but Diogenes fundamentally rejected fame and power.
Because he didn't care about it.
Right. Because he didn't value what society valued. Society had absolutely no leverage over him. Wow. He saw that status is a never-ending game, and it's a game played entirely in the minds of other people.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because this philosophy forces us to ask some deeply uncomfortable questions.
It does.
Like, are we living for ourselves? Or are we living for approval? Do you actually want that promotion to middle management? Or were you just conditioned since childhood to want the prestige of a new title?
That is the million-dollar question.
Now, it's easy for us to sit here in the studio and say, yeah, stop caring what people think. You know, you see that printed on coffee mugs.
Right. It's a cliche.
It is. So let's ground this. How does abandoning the pursuit of status actually change a Tuesday morning for our listener? What is the tangible benefit?
The tangible benefit is a profound, almost unimaginable psychological relief.
Relief from what exactly?
Consider how much of your daily mental energy is spent managing your image. Worrying about how you are perceived in a morning meeting, stressing over how your weekend looks on social media.
Oh, the social media curation is exhausting.
It is. Or agonizing over whether you are hitting the socially agreed upon milestones for your age. You know, marriage, house, kids, career. Mm-hmm. It requires a massive amount of cognitive processing power just to maintain the illusion. Chasing status keeps you trapped in a cycle of comparison because, by definition, there is always someone richer or more successful or more admired.
So it's a game designed so that you can never permanently win.
Exactly.
So the only winning move is not to play.
That's it. Quitting the game brings peace. When you audit your own life and ask, do I actually want this career or was I conditioned to want it? And you realize it's the latter, you give yourself permission to let it go.
That sounds incredibly freeing.
You stop letting the fear of someone else's judgment dictate your daily reality. This mindset is the key to designing a life that is genuinely your own.
But stepping away from those norms, stepping off that well-paved path that everyone else is walking, that takes a massive amount of guts.
It's not easy.
It requires a level of emotional and mental resilience that, frankly, I think a lot of us are completely lacking today.
Oh, without a doubt.
And the philosophy addresses this directly, doesn't it? When it explores how Diogenes purposefully hardened his mind through discomfort and radical honesty.
That is a crucial part of the equation. Diogenes didn't just ignore social norms, he actively embraced severe discomfort to toughen himself.
Right?
He chose to sleep outside, he owned almost nothing, he walked barefoot in the snow.
Which sounds awful.
It does, but he was deliberately subjecting himself to hardship because he understood that if you fear discomfort, you can be easily controlled by anyone who offers you comfort.
Wow. Which feels completely alien to us today, because let's be honest, modern life is aggressively optimized to eliminate all friction.
Everything is easy.
Yeah, we have climate-controlled houses, food delivered to our doors with a tap on a screen, ergonomic chairs, heated car seats. We have engineered discomfort out of our daily existence.
Yes, we have. It reminds me of a physical immune system. Like if you raise a child in a completely sterile bubble, their immune system never learns how to fight off a basic cold.
Right, they have no defenses. It becomes incredibly fragile. And it seems like our hyper-optimized, overly comfortable modern lives have done the exact same thing to our minds. We live in a psychological, sterile bubble.
That is a fantastic analogy, and it perfectly captures the underlying physiological mechanism at play here. Because we so rarely face genuine physical or mental friction, our stress response system becomes completely dysregulated.
Oh, that makes sense.
When you are always comfortable, your tolerance for adversity atrophies. So when a minor inconvenience happens, say the Wi-Fi goes down for an hour, or your coffee order is slightly wrong...
It feels like the end of the world.
Yes, your brain reacts chemically as if there is a lion in the bushes. It feels like a catastrophe. The antidote to this fragility is controlled discomfort.
Okay, but what are the modern applications of sleeping outside in a clay jar in ancient Greece? Because again, I am not doing that.
No, and you don't have to. The modern applications are highly practical, but they require intention.
Okay.
It means voluntarily introducing friction back into your life.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Taking cold showers in the morning, practicing intermittent fasting so you actually remember what mild hunger feels like.
Ugh, the cold showers.
Or intentionally leaving your phone at home when you go for a walk to build a tolerance for boredom. By exposing yourself to small, controlled doses of physical and mental stress, you are proving to your brain that you can survive unpleasant things.
You're kind of working out your mind.
Exactly. You are recalibrating your dopamine baseline and fortifying your psychological immune system.
Okay, I can see how taking a cold shower builds physical and mental grit. It proves you can do hard things. But there's another layer to this, right?
Yes.
This philosophy pairs physical discomfort with social discomfort. It emphasizes radical honesty.
This is where it gets tricky for people.
Yeah, because Diogenes was notoriously, brutally honest, like prioritizing objective truth over politeness, even if he was seen as incredibly rude. Now, I'm going to push back here.
Go for it.
Radical honesty sounds great in a philosophy book. But if I'm at work on a Tuesday and I tell my boss his new passion project is completely meaningless and a waste of time, I don't gain freedom. I gain an unemployment check.
Right.
I have a mortgage.
Right.
How on earth is this practical for someone living in the real world?
That is the exact right question to ask, and it highlights a very fine line. The goal of radical honesty isn't cruelty, and it isn't career self-sabotage.
Okay, phew.
You don't need to be harsh for the sake of being harsh. Tact is still a useful tool. But the modern takeaway is about using honesty to cut through the exhausting superficiality of daily life. It's about stopping the performance.
So it's less about insulting your boss and more about refusing to engage in the constant soul-draining polite lies we tell just to keep everything smooth and surface level with everyone we meet.
Yes. Think about the energy it takes to constantly nod along with opinions you don't share.
Oh, so much energy.
Or to pretend you care about the trivial office drama. Or to say yes to social obligations you secretly dread. When you begin to speak truthfully, even with tact, you naturally filter out the people and situations that require you to wear a mask.
So the boundary thing.
Exactly. By dropping the performance, you might ruffle a few feathers, certainly. But the people who remain, the people who appreciate your authenticity, are the ones you build deeper, genuinely meaningful connections with. Authenticity acts as a filtration system for your life.
And if we connect this back to the resilience we were just talking about, the less you need the comfort of everyone liking you, the harder your life is to disrupt.
Right.
You become emotionally robust. You stop being fragile to the opinions of strangers, just like you stop being fragile to a cold room or a delayed meal. It all ties back into that central theme of absolute independence.
Exactly. But practicing that discomfort and actually speaking the truth, it only matters if it's not just another act.
What do you mean?
It can't be a new minimalist persona you're putting on for your own ego to show everyone how enlightened you are. The final piece of the puzzle here is internal consistency. It is the ultimate test of integrity.
Because Diogenes didn't just sit around in a university theorizing about simplicity and honesty. He fully lived it.
Every single day.
Every action he took was in alignment with his philosophy. And isn't that just the most glaring contrast to modern life?
It really is.
Today, it is so incredibly common to see people project one set of values online, championing noble causes, preaching about mindfulness, broadcasting how much they care, while living completely selfish, frantic, distracted lives off-screen.
A disconnect is huge.
It's like leaving too many background apps running on your smartphone. You have your work self, your family self, your Instagram self. Just keeping the story straight maxes out your brain's CPU until your battery completely dies.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. Managing multiple personas is a massive cognitive drain.
It really is.
When you say one thing and live another, it creates a deep internal friction. It generates a quiet, pervasive guilt that slowly eats away at your self-esteem, even if you don't consciously realize it's happening.
So true.
What this ancient philosophy argues is that we must aggressively align our values with our actions and cut out the contradictions.
So what does this all mean for the listener who is sitting here auditing their own life and actually wants to build genuine self-respect?
It means recognizing the causality of integrity. True self-respect doesn't come from external validation. It is the direct result of alignment.
Alignment.
Yes. When you cut out life's contradictions, when your stated beliefs perfectly match your daily habits behind closed doors, you experience profound mental clarity. You close all those background apps.
You just shut them all down.
Exactly. You no longer have to keep track of different versions of yourself. You are simply one integrated person.
The ultimate unsubscribe from the exhausting task of managing multiple identities. You just get to be you, unapologetically.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really important reality check for this entire deep dive. Diogenes' lifestyle was objectively extreme.
Yeah, I think extreme is a very fair word for a guy who chose to be homeless, own a single wooden bowl, and sunbathe in a clay jar.
Just a bit.
I am not doing that, and I doubt anyone listening is going to do that either.
And you don't have to. The beauty of this philosophy is that you do not actually need to live in a barrel to reap the massive benefits of these ancient ideas. His core message was sharp to cut through the noise of his era, but it is highly adaptable to ours.
And that core message is that most of what we chase is entirely unnecessary. And most of what we fear losing doesn't actually matter in the end.
That's it.
If you're listening to this right now on a $1,000 phone, while stressed about a credit card bill you racked up buying things to impress people you don't even really like, Diogenes would look at you and ask, why are you volunteering for your own imprisonment?
It's a great question.
It is a huge weight off the shoulders to realize the cell door is actually unlocked.
It is. And the practical promise here is what we might call the 20% rule.
Okay, the 20% rule.
If you apply even 20% of Diogenes' mindset to your modern life, the results are transformative. If you just slightly reduce your artificial desires, if you step just a little bit outside the comparison trap, if you introduce a tiny amount of voluntary discomfort, you will feel significantly less pressured by society.
It's a snowball effect.
Exactly. You will become mentally independent, and you will experience a taste of true freedom. You don't have to be a perfect ancient ascetic. You just have to start questioning the default settings of your life.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's turn this directly over to you, the listener. We've talked about stripping away the physical and digital clutter, stepping out of the unwinnable casino game of social status, embracing a little cold water to build grit, and demanding structural honesty from yourself. But our expert here has one final thought for you to take away today.
I want to leave you with a challenge, something very practical to mull over that builds directly on everything we've unpacked today. If you were to open up your calendar and your bank statement right now, like today, and look at them through the eyes of Diogenes, what is the very first essential thing you would realize you don't actually need at all?
Oh, man. A phenomenal question to carry with you into the rest of your day. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the defaults, and we will catch you next time.